Welcome back, everybody. Today, I just wanted to talk about AFK Journey, the state of the game right now, at least from a couple people that I've talked to, and I guess judging by the game myself and how I felt about it. But this is going to be more of a chill background game, so I'm just going to have my autoplay go on, and I just want to talk to you guys about how I felt about the game currently. Now, if you aren't already familiar, there are, of course, issues with the game, but every game has its problems. What do I want to see come from the future of the game, though, and what do I think the biggest problems are right now? Well, number one, if you aren't aware, in the gacha space, Wuthering Waves has come out, and that should not really be a mark or be anything against, specifically AFK Journey. Every game has its high and lows in terms of popularity or, how much people are playing their specific IP or gacha game as opposed to others. And right now, of course, there are a lot of people going to be trying other gacha games. That's totally fine. However, there are some actual pressing issues or improvements that I think that AFK Journey and Lilith Games can invest in or look to improve. And the first, I think, is the discussion about login shards and getting 4-star or A-star or A-tier level hero shards in general. As it stands right now, you're getting something like 12 A-tier shards a week, which is kind of a joke, especially if you're trying to push content or want to feel the power of your characters. Everyone at this point, if you're playing AFK Journey, knows that characters like Coco, Marley, depending on if it's season or not, but like Coco, Marley, Odie, Corrin are all very strong. And if you didn't, well, congratulations. Now you know who some of the stronger characters in the game are. Furthermore, if you are trying to get into something like PvP, Arden, the little old man that does has a pivotal part in the Greyborn Wilder's composition is also really important. But the thing about that game the thing about a game like that, and the reason why I think it is kind of important for specifically AFK Journey to look into the shards and specifically like the pull rate of characters, is that it keeps you motivated. When you get closer and closer, or at least for most players, when you get closer and closer towards a goal, it feels very good to accomplish it. Even if it's just a dopamine trick for yourself, you've probably experienced this if you're an AFK Journey player, when you get close to reaching Mythic Plus on a character and you go hastily look at the dream shop and see how many copies or how many dream tiers you need before you can purchase it from the store. Then you, of course, buy the shards, you get a Mythic Plus Odie or get a Supreme Plus Odie, and now you feel on top of the world. That, in my opinion, needs to happen more frequently. And on that note, and something that I'm sure a couple of you guys don't even know, there is actually something beyond Supreme Plus, and that's Paragon. Now, to be clear, I myself am not super even familiar with the system because I'm nowhere close to or near it. But if you're trying to have this infinite treadmill of progression and cycling, the idea behind pulling heroes in general should be something that people look into, or specifically developers at Lilith Games should look into, because it would just be nicer and it kind of keeps you more engaged. Now, the other thing that I think will kind of keep players engaged and will kind of remedy this situation that I think we've been placed in, is that there needs to be more content where the gap between spenders and free-to-plays isn't gargantuan. It's not the Grand Canyon. And I also lost, which kind of stinks. But something like daily puzzles, maybe like a piece of content where all of your heroes are already maxed out, and you need to clear some content where your investment in your characters don't matter so long as you have them. That typically does end up being content like the Labyrinth, where it did boost you up in some cases, or it felt like you could clear and you could do a roguelike kind of clear of the game, and you were you received rewards and were able to compete against other people, not because of the size of your wallet, but rather because it felt like you performed. And giving us things like that, allowing us to find records of other people and perform and be able to reach the top of a ladder for rewards like that, I think is really cool. But you'll notice something or an element that I mentioned about specifically what was just said there, and I'm going to switch this content over to this real quick because I haven't cleared, is that it's the conversation between free-to-plays and spenders. Now, to be clear, they go together hand in hand. Whales want to, or have traditionally wanted to, beat up on or feel much more powerful than the free-to-plays, and at this point, my team is just dead, so it is what it is. But on the topic I was discussing, sometimes you want to equalize the field, and something that I'm kind of really surprised about that they haven't looked into delving into more, or that they haven't tried building upon to make a bit more popular, is the honor duels. Now, if you aren't familiar with what the honor duels is, I wouldn't blame you, because they've literally done no content surrounding that outside of, you know, the weekly reward, I guess, and it is gems, and that's fine, but the honest truth is that they haven't really invested much into this. Now, again, I think that there is a high level of time investment to complete this, which is fine, but if you had the same level of time investment to get a similar reward on the level of something like a, I don't know, an A tier shard or an A tier hero, the same way that you would get it from doing the Dream Realm, I'm sure you wouldn't mind spending a lot of your time doing this honor duel activity anyways. And again, to be clear, it is super free-to-play friendly, which is something that I thought would have attracted more players. And when I initially covered the game, I was kind of banking on this being the thing that kind of took off. Because although it is, although it is equalized in a sense, so it doesn't feel like your investment into the game is quite rewarded in that sense, it does give you rewards, and it does let you play against other players. And traditionally, something that a lot of people have called for in gacha games is something like PvP, and not being outright blown out of the water by a whale. And that's literally what this is. That being said, there is a bit of meta learning to understanding the best honor duel compositions. Something like the one-shot assassin composition that I think I also brought up a little while ago, that was floating around when people needed to clear honor duel from one of the rewards for a skin, I think is a pretty big indicator of just how many people weren't actually aware of how OP that strategy is, or the gap in knowledge that there was between honor duel players. But this, in my opinion, is a perfect location for them to increase rewards. And again, like right now, as it stands, you get a little bit of pulls and a few diamonds, but there isn't really any real incentive for people to be playing this game. And honestly, I'm not even sure if people even remember to do this, because there are so many other activities that you have to do on the daily. You have Supreme Arena, you have Legend Trial, you have, your arenas if it's off, if you're off days for Supreme Arena. But even for that, like, you need to, again, get like some of your challenges. Same thing, like the AFK stages, you want to keep progression on. It feels like these are all activities that you could make active and reward people for it. But the honest truth is that at some point, if there isn't any drive, if it doesn't feel like the reward is compelling enough, then it's not worth it. And even as it stands right now, like, I typically ask community members to see where they are in the game to kind of gauge how relevant the content is, or how much they're appreciating the content, or what they're focusing on. And the only thing I hear from some of my community members right now is that they make sure to do their Dream Realm. If they're doing the Supreme Arena, they try to stay within top 100, and then they log off, and that's it. Which is kind of a problem, because again, there's a lot of different things to do in the game, and I don't think it's necessarily that they aren't willing to spend more time in the game, though some people don't have the time for it, but it's that their investment in what they decide to do on the game is simply not rewarded in a meaningful way. They go out of their way to do stuff like Honor Duel, and they have to sit there for like 2 hours in order to get a couple gems. Does that feel very good to you? Probably not. But at the end of it all, again, beyond all the remarks or the, I guess, changes or improvements I hope that they bring to the game, I do want to say that at the end of the day, it feels like being given something, or being given a significant or a worthwhile reward, is kind of the crux of why people play gacha games like this. And I don't need to tell you guys right now, but so stuff like the vanity stuff, like, I'm kind of a big fan of the Odie skin, if I'm being honest. I like the way that this Odie skin looks. Odie's one of the most iconic characters in the game, and although the character that they gave it to last was not super iconic, in a sense, being given vanity rewards, pretty cool. And something that I also felt like they should have kind of worked on or touched on more is that these rewards are also quite cool. Like, being given these cloaks or these outfits, I think is really cool, and I think there should be some way to highlight or kind of talk about this more, or kind of broadcast or showcase it off some more. Because the honest truth is that there's nothing cooler, honestly, than having something that no one else has. It's an achievement. It's a badge of honor. And therefore, I think that for right now, if I were to run it down from the top to bottom, at its core, adding more content that is doable and meaningful, like, that's the that's a big kicker, right? Like something that people would want to do and feel is worth their time. And again, it's not like I have the one-size-fit-all answer for this. I don't know exactly what that is, but if they need to ask through surveys, which they've done in the past, for what content feels the most rewarding or what kind of rewards they want, then by all means feel free to do so. But I think that is number one, or should be number one on their priority list, to keep hype and to keep the player base, I guess, engaged. The second thing, again, would be to make sure that content that is existing or any new content that they or not any, but that some content that they release in the future at least doesn't have this, this oceanic sized gap between the like free to play and the whales. Because in all honesty, if I'm complaining or if I'm competing against Joe Schmo, like the free to play player who gets absolutely blitzed by me as a whale, that might feel good for me for like a couple moments as the whale, but then they're gonna just stop playing, or I'm gonna start hitting the other whales, and boom, now we've hit like this insurmountable gap where now I, as a dolphin, am now fighting a leviathan, and that's like the same thing that I just did to someone else. It doesn't feel good. That being said, though, I also think that, again, the rewards and the kind of rewards that they give out needs to be studied. I feel like the idea behind giving more rewards in terms of the Dream Realm stuff is not new and is something that people have been asking for a long time. But even if you look at it, it's like 1,200 for one. Even if you're trying to progress towards something like Paragon levels on these characters, this isn't even realistic. I don't consider myself to be like a bottom of the barrel player, though I'm definitely not in the top. But I mean, having a number where I'm like top 20, top 50, I think is kind of significant, is kind of worth noting. And in that case, or like in that sense, I'm not even close to getting, Paragon levels on my OD. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels a little bit weird. And to be clear, I've definitely spent a bit on this game. And it doesn't feel like, outside of wanting more meta compositions or until they release a new character, it doesn't really feel like I'm searching for anything outside of maybe the Celestials. But I'm going to be honest with you, that is like a pretty unattainable goal when their Celestial system involves things like requiring 4 Rainers to get to Supreme Plus. Like, come on. Anyways, though, guys, that's going to be it for this video. I just wanted to talk about my thoughts about the game, what I feel like the game needs, and kind of a couple of issues that I think have arisen or that I've had brought up to me and talked about, or I've had people privately ask me about to see if Lilith Games or anyone else feels the same. And I felt that it was nice to showcase and discuss it with you guys. In any case, though, thank you again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Again, hope some of these changes get implemented. If they don't, it is what it is. But this is how I feel about the state of the game. This is also how a couple of people in my community have felt. Please be civil. If you're going to talk about this in the comment section, don't roast me for it. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Good night, good afternoon, good morning.